Hi everyone, it's Jaitni, your wellness coach. Thank you so much for stopping by today. In this week's video, I want to talk about how you can eat mindfully. So this is a very important way to get healthy. Whether you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to get lean and strong or just feel light and energetic, you definitely want to have some healthy habits when it comes to eating mindfully. So often we treat our meal times as second-class citizens. We're always in a rush to get somewhere or to do something, that the part of our lives that suffers the most is our diet and how we eat our food. So today, the tips that I share with you hopefully will turn into habits that you can take with you no matter where you go. That's the beauty of the tips I'm going to share. So whether you're having food or beverages at home, in your office, while traveling, while you're on a work trip, or even while you're on vacation, you can take these reminders everywhere you go. So that's the beauty of it. So without further ado, let me get started. I have 5 reminders for you. The first one is minimize distractions. So when you're sitting down to have a meal or to enjoy a beverage, just focus on that. Get intimate with that time, get intimate with that food, that drink, whatever it is you're consuming. The emails can wait, the text messages can wait, that show that you're trying to watch at the same time while eating, that can wait, scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, all of that, you get the point. Set aside those devices, set aside those distractions, even making phone calls. Let that wait. Just dedicate undivided attention, whether it's 10 minutes or even 15 minutes, to your food and see what a difference that makes. Get all of yourself involved. What I mean by that is your senses. What does that food look like? What does that food taste like? What does that food feel like in your mouth? And then how does it make your body feel? So when you get every part of you involved in the food, you really start to enjoy it and you really start to develop this presence of mind as to how much you want to eat and what you're eating or what you're consuming. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is silence the inner critic. So we all have gremlins in our head, but body shaming is not an option. So whether you're trying to enjoy a slice of cake or a piece of chocolate or some Cheetos, whatever it is, or even enjoy a glass of wine, that's okay. But body shaming is not okay. It leads to some pretty difficult and unhealthy disordered eating. It also leads to some mental and emotional distress. It could lead to this constant cycle of dieting and, functioning in extremes. That, I had a cupcake today, so I'm gonna have to work out 2 hours tomorrow. No, we don't want that. No matter what you eat or what you drink, just appreciate it. Just savor it and just be thankful for it. Actually enjoy it without the guilt as well as the negativity. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3 is really start to understand your body's needs. So what I mean by that is, what exactly does your body want from you? And when I say body, I mean not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. So try to understand, what is it that you're getting out of the food or the drink? Are you just drinking for the sake of drinking, or are you drinking because you're trying to distract yourself? You're really stressed out, or you have some emotional turmoil, and the answer to that is a glass of beer or a glass of wine. With food as well, especially the carb-heavy foods, they do give us a lot of comfort. So why are you turning to those foods? What need do those foods fulfill? Is it just a physical need of hunger, or is it more than that? Is it that you're feeling lonely and you're craving company? So are you craving food, or are you actually craving company? So really understanding why you're eating what you're eating, or why you're drinking what you're drinking. That can make a huge difference. And again, the point of this is not to feel guilty or to feel bad or feel ashamed by the food choices that you're making. It's really about developing self-awareness and some sense of accountability, because you really want to feel why are you eating the foods that you're eating, or why are you drinking what you're drinking? As soon as you develop that awareness, you really start to gain a deeper understanding, and you're able to make the changes that you wish to make. So definitely keep that in mind. And then tip number 4 is question your choices. So again, I don't mean this in a negative way. It's not about feeling guilty or feeling embarrassed or ashamed by the choices you're making. It's really about understanding why you're making the choices that you're making. So ask yourself a really simple question, whether you're eating something or drinking something, and let that question be, how is this nourishing my body? How is this nourishing my mind? How is this nourishing my emotions? And when you get answers to that question, you really start to understand your patterns and why you make the choices that you make. So it's a very simple question, and that is just asking yourself, how is this nourishing me? And you can replace that with, how is this nourishing my body, my mental health, or emotional health? Because it's doing something. The food that you're eating, whatever you're drinking, it serves a much bigger purpose than just making up for hunger. And if it's just focused on hunger and it's just sufficing to fulfill that need of hunger, that's fantastic. That is mindful eating. But a lot of times, mindless eating involves eating for a different reason, or drinking for a different reason, or having soda instead of water for a different reason. So when you're drinking that can of soda, ask yourself, how is this nourishing my body? How is this fulfilling a need that water isn't for me? So really get to know yourself and ask those questions, and ask those questions non-judgmentally. That's really the key. And then the last tip number 5, that is really identify your meal times. So just eating whenever you want and snacking outside of meal times isn't going to help with mindful eating. You want to develop a set routine. So if you're one of those people that needs breakfast as soon as you wake up, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And on the flip side, if you're one of those people that can do without breakfast and enjoy lunch mindfully, that means not overeating, making healthy choices, and limiting your cravings, then that's fantastic. You don't need to have breakfast. So really start to understand which meal times work for you and how you can set up your day when it comes to the food and the beverages you drink. So in my case, I need breakfast when I wake up. I also need to eat every few hours because that's how my metabolism works. And that's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up for that. I do try to make healthier choices. So if it's snack time, I try to go for a piece of fruit instead of some chips or, any other kind of processed food. So that is something you can do as well. But try to understand what your body needs. Some people are totally okay with intermittent fasting with IF. They've got it down and they enjoy it and they like to do it. But if you're not that person, again, that's okay. Just have dedicated meal times, because having that routine can make a world of a difference. Trying to eat mindfully, develop healthy habits, and actually feel and be healthy. So with that said, let me wrap it up. There were 5 tips, right? 1 is minimize distractions. 2 is really silence the gremlins. 3 is really pay attention to what your body needs. 4 is question your choices non-judgmentally. And then 5 is identify your meal times. So as I mentioned earlier, these tips or these reminders can effectively and easily turn into habits that you take with you no matter where you go. Whether you're at home or at work or traveling, they can serve you well. They can also serve you really well regardless of the food you're eating. So even if you're enjoying a scoop of ice cream or a cupcake, or you're having a glass of wine, or whatever beverage it is, a martini, you can apply a lot of these principles and a lot of these habits to even the food that you eat. So I hope some of this resonated with you and you'll be able to walk away with some of these tips and actually start to implement them. Thank you so much for stopping by and for tuning in. I always appreciate it. I will catch you here next week. In the meantime, I hope you have a beautiful week.